Welcome back to the live stream here at theCUBE in San Diego for FinOps X 2026. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE with my co-host Paul Nashawaty with theCUBE Research. You know, we've been covering AI infrastructure like a blanket, of course, cloud native since day one, KubeCon started. We saw the rise of cloud native, and now we see the AI infrastructure on a very similar rapid trajectory, but super fast, and that's impacting all the analysis around the costs, the apps, the workloads, and ultimately the value of the AI. Our next guest is going to unpack that for us. Peter Irwin, VP of Partnerships and Alliance at ScaleOps. DevOps, DevSecOps, DevSec, FinOps, all need to be ops.
Scaled, everything needs to be scaled.
At scale.
The scale keeps growing.
Welcome to theCUBE, appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me.
All right, so break down the token costing in context to the build out, because you're going to see a lot more diversity of performance. I was just riffing on Twitter yesterday about premium tokens. Like premium tokens, now we got premium tokens.
Yeah.
What the hell is that? So again, the point is this is happening super fast.
It's exploding, and it's not just the token cost, but it's the infrastructure costs in your own environments as well that's being driven up by the agents, the LLMs, the organic growth of more and more microservices and workloads to serve those agents.
On the infrastructure side, cloud, we saw that movie, still happening. FinOps was born in the cloud environment to have that value. But then the on-premises growth is high. We see the growth of AI factories. Now there's rack scales for enterprises from Dell and all the providers. Yep. NVIDIA's enabling this with new Pareto curves. So the enterprise is ripe. One, a lot of data is not unlocked yet, and people are using it. How's all this impacting it? Because now you have cross-platform.
Well, it's everywhere. I mean, the compute needs of the agentic enterprise only continues to explode, whether that's in the cloud, in the data center, in the LLM providers infrastructure, but it's really all of the above, and it's not slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, so Peter, ScaleOps has been really instrumental in a lot of organizations around resource management, right? Around optimizing your environment, Kubernetes deployments, everything that we talked about before and in briefings that we've had before as well. But like now we're looking at models that have hundreds and hundreds of agents, yep. Right? What is the resource management problem and how's it changed for enterprises with this scale of these agents? I mean, the number of agents that are out there, that's a big impact, not just on the infrastructure, but on the software side as well.
Absolutely, so everybody talks about here at FinOps the token problem and the huge bill that we're getting from these new players in the space, but the same thing's still happening in the cloud and on the infrastructure side, and it's being accelerated. So you have your agents that are deployed onto your own Kubernetes cluster or your own infrastructure, and they're orchestrating workflows, talking to the LLM providers, making calls, talking to your microservices, understanding non-deterministic outcomes, and all of that is more and more load. Just for example, in our customer base, we've seen, 6 months ago, there were a few thousand agents running around doing stuff, and that's already, tens and tens of thousands of agents being driven, and it has a cascading effect. Those agents aren't just one more microservice doing work, it's calling on the other applications, calling on the LLM providers, and generating a spiral of more and more compute happening.
So there's an explosion of these tokens being consumed, right, with LLM providers, right? That's a big factor here as well. So you mentioned it, that the big kind of buzz around here is tokens, right? That is, when you have these agents are just going to use more,
yep.
Right? And the management, like you said, on the management side, that also shouldn't be neglected.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's not something a human can keep up with, is the reality.
So are there going to be agents doing management of agents? Is that what we're hearing?
Well, with ScaleOps, we make it easy. I mean, the whole idea of what we do is forget about the infrastructure, focus on building the agents, focus on getting the work done, build the applications that your internal teams and your customers need, and we'll take care of the rest. And ultimately, those resource decisions are complex. They require a lot of context. They need to understand the latency requirements of the application, the responsiveness that you need. Yeah. And there's a double-edged sword here for FinOps folks, and the balancing cost and performance, of course, right? The iron triangle of productivity and performance and things that JR talked about this morning. But it actually cuts even worse in agentic workflows. If you have an agent running around orchestrating a workflow, driving compute on all these different services, and it fails in the middle of its process because it doesn't have the resources it needs, it's going to go restart that workflow and drive more costs around again and again and again. So The nature of these workloads is extremely dynamic, it's very bursty, it's hard to understand with human intelligence. So.
The thing about the waiver on is that you've seen the movie before. During the web, people would over-provision. In comes the cloud, auto-scaling, that's awesome. Now you have AI and the resource available, there's a lot of dynamic provisioning. Carpenter, great open source tool. There's the disruption budget concept. You guys talk a lot about that. There's a lot of resource flexing with agents because you don't know where, you got model routing going on, so a lot of things happening that agents can manage, but the budget piece, you can scale up, so it's like auto-scaling plus. Explain this, this is a huge topic because this will enable the FinOps world to really kind of get a handle on
Absolutely, it's just becoming increasingly complex. There's more and more levers to pull, more and more knobs. So you have things like Carpenter which do better at scaling the nodes up and down, and then you have layer in horizontal pod auto scaling, HPAs that'll scale the number of replicas up and down, and then you try to size those replicas appropriately, and okay, now this pod can't be disrupted and this one can, and the nature of this is a database and you have thousands of services deployed into a single cluster. Again, how do you get your head around that?
At scale, by the way.
At scale, right, and how do you get your head around all that? And that's really what we're here to do, is make that easy. We're a single click button where all of those decisions get made by machines and allow you to, again, focus on innovation and building and get out of the day-to-day toil.
On the infrastructure side, we saw trading dominate, inferences here. Where are you seeing the hotspots for you guys to serve that need, and where does FinOps tie in?
Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, we're in an era of insane developer productivity, and that needs to be encouraged and fueled, right? But at the same time, money is finite for most companies, and that needs to be managed. So, I think in the long run, the token game becomes how do we bring that cost in the house, and how do we manage our own GPU infrastructure? And this is a really big new challenge as well. Fundamentally, you have a one-to-one workload to GPU mapping. And that's very, very expensive and very, very hard to manage and scale. And that's another thing we've been seeing a lot of customers deal with is how do we actually drive our own GPU infrastructure with the lack of availability of those nodes, with the cost associated with it. And we've been helping customers to fractionalize, share those GPUs, automatically put multiple workloads on a single device so you get the economies of scale.
I mean, NVIDIA hates to hear the word GPU idle. So again,
but there's lots of it.
So talk about how this, because that's cost too. That's collateral damage from not having good memory architecture, good cohesive system.
That's right.
Talk about that dynamic, because you feed the GPUs, that's where value's there. So again, it's an adjacent cost to say token budgets, but it's super relevant.
Yeah, well, and as open models improve and as we better understand in the enterprise, what level of model is required for different types of tasks, do we need to be running frontier models to run simple, SQL queries? Probably not, right? And so as you bring that in-house and you run your own GPU models, that management of the infrastructure falls back on your operations team. And it's its own complex web of problems, right? You have VLLMs, which will call the entire memory of the chip, regardless if it needs it or not. And now you feel like you're using it, but it's actually sitting idle under the hood, and that's another thing we've been able to help unpack and unwind for customers.
Well, ScaleOps also has the ability to do autonomous management, resource management, right? So that makes a lot of sense, especially when you're saying that a lot of this falls back on the ops teams, and they have to figure it out. And now I get it that there's a maturity curve, and there's pieces of people that will want things, automated and such, but then some things are not. I understand that. When we look at autonomous resource management, what does it actually mean in practice, and what does it mean to FinOps?
Yeah, well, from a FinOps perspective, the nirvana is everything we pay for what we're using, right? We don't want to pay for stuff sitting on the shelf, idle machines. And again, that's an endless loop of people talking to each other and friction between your platform and your application teams. You end up with cycles of, hey, let's generate recommendations, apply those back, and human-in-the-loop systems that can't keep up with the deployment of all the new services. So, with ScaleOps, it's a single click. You install the software on your cluster, we understand the needs of applications, we're taking into context of what's happening, the other pods that are running, the availability of the resources, and then you just automate it. It's all totally hands-free. All those scaling decisions are made for you.
Now, looking at this though, we want to make sure the audience understands that there's different levels of entry points here, right? Because I mean, if they're looking at, the audience is listening and they're trying to understand and trying to unpack this, they may think, well, ScaleOps isn't really, it's more advanced than what I need. Is that true, or is it, I think it sounds like you can go at any level.
What we see is a lot of customers come in and they think they want kind of this human in the loop feedback cycle. But if you really ask application teams, what do they want? It's not the control, it's the outcome. It's availability, it's ensured performance. It's, I'm not getting a call at midnight, right? And so what we provide is really a performance production first platform that focuses on reliability. The byproduct of that is tremendous savings for the FinOps guys and the folks counting the money.
Sure.
And so we really just accelerate customers' journeys through that curve and give them the outcome that they're really looking for rather than a project to work on and something to manage.
Remember, Paul, the old days, a few years ago, the term non-disruptive operations was a big kind of buzzword.
Yeah.
Mostly kind of like data center, cloud storage. Now, you're essentially saying the disruption is the inconvenience, not the control.
That's right.
So okay, no disruption.
That's right.
There you go. So,
no trade-off. Improved performance, reduce cost, and totally hands-free. Give the time back to your teams.
Okay, so next question is, this is an engineering culture here that's really merging quickly in and binding up with the C-suite, because money's on the line.
That's right.
I mean, come on, we're talking about CapEx, OpEx, tokenomics, hidden costs, to bad decisions or agents, a lot of things going on that could go off the rails. How do you see the engineering world evolving here in the FinOps world? From your perspective, you're in the middle of the hot AI infrastructure, but you're also enabling this.
That's right.
What's your vision of this community in terms of its evolution? They're going to be building, they'll be operating, but they're kind of an investor eye to it too.
That's right. Well, I think, I've been in the FinOps space for about 7 or 8 years now. I was at the first FinOps X back in Austin before we got this beautiful venue. Yeah. And I think I've seen a couple things. One, the FinOps teams are becoming more and more technical. They're embedding more and more closely with the engineering and platform teams, so they have a better understanding of how to drive the outcomes rather than just count the money, right? And two, the executives are becoming savvier. They're getting more into the details and the weeds. They're more hands-on. The access to data is more readily available with things like AI and Claude and the tools that you can go pull the information and get a better understanding of what you're doing. So I think much better decisions are being made overall. I think more technical involvement in the projects. We see FinOps teams really engaging much more hands-on and actually driving some of these initiatives than maybe in the past. And ultimately, I think it continues that way.
From a change management standpoint, obviously you've had different departments, managing software estates, licenses, that's cost, reporting. We hear in the keynote today, time savings, again, everybody loves that. No disruption, save time, come on, let's work on good things. Yeah, had me at time savings. What about the role that plays with the organizations? Because now you have essentially got to break down these silos because the cloud's horizontally scalable, now AI is horizontally scalable.
That's right.
With domain-specific capabilities.
That's right. Well, the time savings is really a factor of how much time do we have to talk to each other inside the business making menial decisions that don't drive the business forward, right? And the more you can reduce that friction and get that out of the picture, that's the productivity back. Reduce the headache and the angst and the relationship friction that you have between these teams. That allows you to accelerate the business and develop more faster. And like you said, time savings is money, and it's never been more true, especially from engineering teams.
All right, so I have to ask you, given your history in the FinOps community, how has the AI infrastructure build-out surge impacted either the organizations in FinOps or accelerated the prominence of it? Has there been any? Obviously, some. What's your take on that?
Well, you see this conference room growing every year and getting fuller and fuller. I mean, that's certainly true. And it's becoming more and more relevant. Like I said, I mean, it's not just the tokens, it's not just the AI LLMs themselves, it's all the surrounding infrastructure that those need. It's exploding, and it's the biggest line item on most people's budget these days. So
a lot more projects coming in, and then the foundation, tokenomics foundation is good call.
Internally here, even at ScaleOps, we have salespeople writing code and just shipping production applications, right? And for internal purposes, operations is building things and.
Can they make HBM memory and NAND? Get them on that. We need more of that.
Yeah, that's right.
Peter, thanks for coming on theCUBE. Guys, great conversation. Thanks for the insights.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
All
right. Nice to meet you guys. Pleasure.
I'm John Furrier with Paul Nashawaty here on theCUBE. This infrastructure is booming. It's enabling more developers, more engineering, and AI builders that don't have to be engineers. So it's coming super fast and it's changing fast, but the value is there. Figure out the cost, tie it to value. Whole new set of math going on. We're doing our part to keep track of it for you. Thanks for watching.